He was cold standing there in the fine rain, and he crossed the street and went on. When he got to the cathedral, he went up the stairs and went in. Old women lighting candles. The dead remembered here who had no other being, and who would soon have none at all. His father was on Campania Hill with Oppenheimer at Trinity. Teller, Bethe, Lawrence, Feynman. Teller was passing around suntan lotion. They stood in goggles and gloves, like welders. Oppenheimer was a chain smoker with a chronic cough and bad teeth. His eyes were a striking blue. He had an accent of some kind, almost Irish. He wore good clothes, but they hung on him. He weighed nothing. Groves hired him because he had seen that he could not be intimidated. That was all. A lot of very smart people thought he was possibly the smartest man God ever made. Odd chap, that God. There were people who escaped from Hiroshima and rushed to Nagasaki to see that their loved ones were safe, arriving just in time to be incinerated. He went there after the war with a team of scientists, my father. He said that everything was rusty. Everything looked covered with rust. There were burnt-out shells of trolley cars standing in the streets. The glass melted out of the sashes and pooled on the bricks. Seated on the blackened springs, the charred skeletons of the passengers, with their clothes and hair gone, and their bones hung with blackened strips of flesh. Their eyes boiled from their sockets. Lips and noses burned away. Sitting in their seats, laughing. The living walked about, but there was no place to go. They waded by the thousands into the river and died there. They were like insects in that no one direction was preferable to another. Burning people crawled among the corpses like some horror in a vast crematorium. They simply thought that the world had ended. It hardly even occurred to them that it had anything to do with the war. They carried their skin bundled up in their arms before them like wash, that it not drag in the rubble and ash, and they passed one another mindlessly on their mindless journeyings over the smoking afterground, the sighted no better served than the blind. The news of all this did not even leave the city for 2 days. Those who survived would often remember these horrors with a certain aesthetic to them. In the myconial phantom blooming in the dawn like an evil lotus, and in the melting of solids not heretofore known to do so, stood a truth that would silence poetry 1,000 years. Like an immense bladder, they would say. Like some sea thing, wobbling slightly on the near horizon. Then the unspeakable noise. They saw birds in the dawn sky ignite and explode soundlessly and fall in long arcs earthward like burning party favors. He sat for a long time in the wooden pew, bent forward like any other penitent.